thank.
That worked fast.
I guess so. I want to thank everybody for being here. This turnout is phenomenal. Like I said, we appreciate this. Officer Travis Mayo, Kevin and Issa Willis, Taylor Smith, Melissa Smith. Thank you so much for this. Thank Pivot for donating this space and being such an awesome local We appreciate you because you all know how important this is. So I'm going to turn this over to Travis.
Thank you all for being here tonight. 4 years ago, I told a group of folks, probably several times, that they should support Andy Beshear for governor because he's a Kentuckian, he knows Kentucky, he loves Kentucky, he cares about the people of Kentucky, and that's who we need to be leading Kentucky. And I think in 4 years, Andy Beshear and Jacqueline Cohen have proven that they love Kentucky and care about Kentuckians. We come a long way from 5,100 votes. Pandemic, devastating deadly tornadoes in western Kentucky, deadly floods in eastern Kentucky that ravaged that region. And where has Andy Beshear and where has Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Cohen been every time? With Kentuckians on the ground, showing them that he cares about them. And as an administration, that we will do everything to rebuild and help them in the wake of those disasters. And education first, from the very beginning of this administration, the first week we restored the Board of Education. We restored the civil rights of over 175,000 Kentuckians. And we also ended the Medicaid work requirement waiver that the prior administration had instilled. And that was just in the first few days. And we're just getting started.
And then COVID.
But, a few weeks ago I was at the Chamber of Commerce dinner, and the governor rattled off the economic development projects from Paducah to Pikeville that have happened during this past 4 years. The last 2 years, back to back, the best 2 years in economic development in Kentucky's history. He sounded like an auctioneer that night, but it was all true. It's all real jobs, real development for Kentucky. And so, I couldn't be more proud, privileged, honored to work for Andy Beshear for over 7 years now, and to work with Lieutenant Governor Coleman for the past 4 years. And Lieutenant Governor Coleman is educator, former assistant principal, basketball coach, Kentuckian through and through, mother, just an incredible advocate for Kentucky. So these two, the other side does not have the kind of strength that these two have for Kentucky. They are metal, they are proven metal each and every day. And they will work for all of you and all of Kentucky for the next 4 years through 2027. So give it up.
Travis just cut our first commercial for us, so that's great. But thank you all so much for being here tonight, and more important than that, thank you for being with us this entire time, because as I get to tell lots of folks when I talk to them, when they say, tell the governor thank you so much for protecting us and for fighting for us, I always say, we wouldn't be here in this position to be able to fight for you if we didn't have your all support. So you are the reason that we are where we are right now. So thank you for that. So Travis alluded a little bit to the last 3 years. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but we have had a worldwide global pandemic. We have seen the worst tornadoes we've ever seen in Kentucky in the west and flooding in the east. And this is what I will tell you. Nights like tonight are so critically important. They're fun. It's great to see you guys, to see old friends, new faces. All of that is wonderful, right? But if you go back to 2019, we won that election by 1.5 votes per precinct across the state of Kentucky, okay? So every dollar that you gave, every door that you knocked on, every awkward conversation you had with your uncle at Thanksgiving, changed the trajectory of the future of Kentucky. Now, we thought we knew back then what we were up against, and we were right. We just didn't know what was around the corner, right? And so think about, for just a moment, what it would have been like to go through a global pandemic with a governor that didn't believe in science. Basic things, right, that would have never protected our kids in our schools, that I'm not sure would have showed up in Western Kentucky or Eastern Kentucky when people needed them the most, right? That's when you need leadership. And while I wouldn't wish that on anybody, I think you will agree with me that what those things did was it gave people an opportunity to see a real leader who treats every single Kentucky family like they're his own. And that's what you got to do. So many moons ago, we came to you asking, and I always say he was a scrappy attorney general, and I love that. And I say that because he saved my pension, so that's why I say that. And an assistant principal, and we were asking you to have faith in us because we knew the things that Kentucky was capable of. We knew the hope that we could build in this Commonwealth, and it was thanks to you guys again that we were able to do that by a very thin margin. And now here we are. Back again, asking you to have faith in us one more time, because I think you all would agree we've got a lot of really good things going, but we want to make sure that we continue this momentum that we've seen in Kentucky, because I can remember that day and during the pandemic, I walked in the governor's office and I kind of plopped down in the seat across from him and I just said, what are we going to do now? Right? Because we had run as hard as we could run for 2 years with all of these ideas and promises, and the world stopped on a dime. Mine stopped twice on a dime because I had a baby in February and the pandemic started in March, so that was like another thing. But we had so much we wanted to accomplish, and he answered me. First of all, he told me, here's what we're going to do. We're going to treat every Kentucky family like they're our own, and we are going to govern to save lives, and if it costs us our re-election, so be it. And I promise to you all, those are the words that came out of that man's mouth. And I think you saw that every single day as you tuned in, right? Yeah. But the second thing he did was very kind of quietly at first, brick by brick, started to build the strongest economy that Kentucky has ever seen. And that's where we find ourselves today, and that's why we're here to ask you all again to have a little bit of faith in us, a little bit more faith in us, to get us across that finish line one more time, because there is so much good that can still be done, and we cannot entrust that to anyone else other than the man who did the work to build it himself. And we've got a lot, you guys, we've got so many good people here that work for us.
Yes.
And he's important, okay? He's
Not
important.
really.
But the people who make up this administration are the people who have the boots on the ground and are working with Kentucky families every single day, everywhere I go. And the governor and Rocky would tell you this too, because I know they're in different places than I am. People say, we've never seen state government show up like this. We've never been able to work with these people. We've never had a relationship with this cabinet or with these folks, because leadership is top down. And that compassion and treating families like they're our own has made its way through this administration. So for everybody here tonight that is a part of that, you are exactly what makes Team Kentucky important. And so we want to keep you employed as well. And so with that, I am going to turn it over to the most popular Democratic governor in the country.
My first thought was she went there. I've known nearly 10 lieutenant governors in my lifetime. One was named Steve Beshear, and I told him, I think I've got the best lieutenant governor that we've ever seen. What a crowd. Look around. Doesn't it feel good to all be back together?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you how special this is. This is the first crowd that I can remember where Dr. Stack and I are together in the midst of the crowd. Let me just take take a minute, because I haven't gotten a chance to do this. Talk about incredible, selfless, amazing service. Dr. Stack helped shepherd this state through one of the most difficult times any of us could have ever imagined. People went after him. People went after his family. But he showed the strength, the love, and the faith to push through all of it, because it was his voice and his mind and every hour that he gave, because I know how many hours we sat together. And I know we didn't sleep for about a year. Listen, because of this man, there are tens of thousands of Kentuckians still alive. One of the few in his position that helped through COVID that's still in his position. But when we think about what's possible moving forward, and we'll talk about turning the page, I mean, think about getting Kentucky healthier. Think about what is in front of us. He came into his job just like I did, with a lot of hopes and dreams and ideas. This is one of the most talented people that I've ever met in my life. We are really blessed to have Dr. Stack on our team. One more time. So the question that I'm asked the most often is, Andy, did you have any idea what you were getting into? The answer is always the same. No, did you? Yeah. I mean, you think about how much we've been through in such a short time period, a pandemic that's taken more lives than World War I, World War II, Vietnam put together in terms of Kentuckians. The worst tornado disaster we've ever seen that nearly wiped out my dad's hometown. The worst flooding disaster we've ever seen, which is requiring the most difficult rebuild in U.S. history. We've had 2 ice storms. Do y'all even remember those? We had the polar plunge, negative 45 degrees. In Kentucky, we have inflation that, while temporary, is still tough, especially at the grocery store. We even have a war in Europe. Who'd have thought that'd be something that we would not just read about in textbooks, but be living through? By the way, I found out about a week and a half ago, apparently I've been banned by Russia.
Congratulations.
Way to go.
All I'll say is, if they got to me, they're digging really deep. But you, in all seriousness, you look at all that, and most of us can't ever remember a 3-year period where we've dealt with such adversity. But I always had faith. Even in the toughest of times, faith in God and faith in us that we could make it through. Because if you ever lose your faith in humanity, just watch what people do right after the worst natural disaster. Go to the West, where after those tornadoes, you'd see people driving up into someone's driveway, getting out, introducing themselves for the first time, and saying, "How could I help?" I jumped up in one of the largest dump trucks that I've ever seen, cleaning up in Bremen, and introduced myself. He's a public school teacher. But because they couldn't open school that day, he was there working. How about our public school educators? But I think it's because of that spirit and our goodness that we are finally turning the page. I feel it. You know, moving from a time of great difficulty into one of great opportunity. In many ways, like that psalm that says, "Weeping may linger in the evening, but joy comes in the morning." I feel like we are starting to move from adversity to opportunity. You just look at the last several years and the economy that we're starting to build in Kentucky. What's going to be possible for our kids and our grandkids? Think about 2021, the height of the pandemic. We broke every economic development record, and it wasn't even close. We went into that year with about $5 billion of new investment coming into Kentucky every year. We had $11.2 billion in 2021. That's a great number, but it came with jobs. We came in averaging about 9,000 new Kentucky jobs. 2021, we announced a record 18,000 new Kentucky jobs. And that's the second highest wage that we'd ever announced. 2022 was our second best year on record. $10.5 billion in new investment. 16,000 new jobs. 2023, we had our second best January on record. Our February is looking like it's going to be incredible as well. What we are building is a foundation where we can not only leapfrog 10 other states' economies, we can be a top 10 state economy. For the first time that I can remember, our surrounding states are looking at us with envy.
Yes.
They're looking at Kentucky and saying, how are you doing this? And I'm looking back saying, I'm not telling you. But the secret is us. It's our goodness. It's our people. It's how when we make an agreement, we stick to it. When we give our word, it is our bond. And we have more good jobs coming in right now than ever before. In the last year and a half, we've become the electric vehicle battery production capital of the United States of America. We're building 2 of the most recent green aluminum plants. We're building the cleanest, greenest recycled paper mill on planet Earth. We're home to the largest investment in the history of Ford Motor Company. And most people don't know the largest investment in the history of Amazon is at that Northern Kentucky Cincinnati airport. It's on our side. Last year, we did something we'd never done before. In August, we led the entire country in new job growth. Kentucky was #1 in September. We tied for #1. I'm kind of happy for New Hampshire, but 2 months in a row, Kentucky was right there. And I think what that means is we have a chance to be the generations that do what we have always dreamed of doing. We ensure that no matter how big our kids or our grandkids dream, that they never have to leave the state to chase that dream, that they can find every opportunity right here. How about if we were the generations that turned the brain drain into the brain gain?
Yes.
That stopped seeing our talented young people think they had to move somewhere else and start seeing other states' talented young people moving towards us. How about we were the ones that finally made it possible for no matter how big you dream, when you grow up in Kentucky, you can chase it right here no matter what it is. I think we've earned it. I think we deserve it. And I think that we are at that moment in time. And while others may try to tell you something different about what's going on right now, the numbers don't lie. We set our lowest unemployment rate in history 4 separate times last year. Under this administration, and listen, I say that this is an us. Everything is an us. If you work for the Beshear administration, hold up your hand tonight because we got a lot of amazing folks that are out there. Thank you. Under this administration, we're going to have the 4 largest budget surpluses in Kentucky's history. We'll have taken the rainy day fund for about $100 million to $2.7 billion. We'll have created record funding in education, though it's not enough because we have to pay our teachers more right now. And even despite of some of the hate and some of the prejudice that we see coming out of the General Assembly, we are still building a better Kentucky every day. And that's why we need your help. I truly believe that we have brighter days in front of us, but that winning this election is critical for it. And I don't mean that for me. I mean that for us. We didn't get through COVID with me, or even Dr. Stack, or even Virginia, though she had a lot to do with it. We got through it with every person feeling like a part, doing their job. We got through it putting selflessness over selfishness. But when you look at this election, what do you see the people running against us doing? They're trying to run us down. They're trying to talk poorly about our workforce. And think about it, at a time right now where every day we have new companies looking at us, hundreds of jobs, thousands of jobs. They could cost a given community, their Glendale, their next opportunity, their ability to turn the page and be everything they've ever dreamed of. It is way too important to let somebody's personal ambition take us off a track where we are all winning together. And that's why we need your help. But I'll let you in on a good secret. This is the first election that I'll ever start out ahead. But we know it's going to be tough. We do. And so that means, like the Lieutenant Governor said, every dollar, and especially the dollars. Listen, money isn't just about politics, but everything you do in politics costs money to do it right. Every door you knock, every postcard you write, all of it makes a huge difference. Not just so we can be here, but so we can grasp the brightest opportunity for the future of Kentucky that I myself have ever witnessed. So we need everybody to dig deep. We need everybody to do everything that they can. We need to get out there and win this election. And I will tell you, I'm as committed to this as anything I've ever done. And as the Lieutenant Governor would tell you, I'm a little bit surprised to tell you that. So I remember in the midst of COVID, and Steve and I talked about this, people come to me and say, do you still want to do this job? And I would say, this is probably the most important thing I'll ever be called to do. I'm going to do it right. I'm going to make every decision to save lives. If they run me out of town, that's fine. We'll have known we did the right thing. And I'd always say that I care more about the judgment of my maker than I do about commenters on Facebook. And then I actually think we would all say, let's get through this and see how much gas is left in the tank. I'm here to tell you I was wrong. My wife would tell you I'd never tell you that. I don't think that was the most important thing that we'll ever be called to do. We got a chance right now to reshape our economy, to reshape our opportunity with the entire national landscape changing, for Kentucky to be the place of opportunity, for us to take our place as a leader, never to be a flyover state again. And you know what? Having grown up here, never having anybody look down their nose at us ever again. So we have to win. We have to get out there. We have to earn every vote. We have to build the faith, not for us, but because we've got a chance to build the Kentucky we've always dreamed of. Thank you all very much. All right.